reason we're here today is about the mission of United Way, which is to create opportunities that move families out of poverty and back to self-sufficiency. So in order to understand a lot of the issues that you're going to be exposed to over the coming months, we thought it would be, this is a change made because of past fellows' feedback, is learning a little bit more about the issue of poverty. So that's what we're going to take a few minutes to do a brief exercise that some of you might have done, but every time it seems that we do it, even if you've already participated in this exercise, you kind of come away with a different angle on it and a different view of what these families are going through. So in your packets at the very bottom, you'll see a big placemat looking thing called Making Choices. And with this, if you want to go ahead and set it in front of you, and at this point, all these candies that you're seeing out, if you don't mind to grab one of these, you each get a roll of, or I'm going to roll over here. We're going to get a roll of Smarties. Everybody gets one roll. Does anybody have enough?
Yes.
Okay. Now our bankers in the room, you cannot take more and loan them to people. Everybody there's no predatory lending here. We're all starting with a 15 candy budget. And before you on your budget is very similar to what all of our families, regardless of income, have to provide to be able to survive. So we all have to be able to provide housing, health care, some kind of transportation, food. No matter how much money you make, these are all things that we have to have. So each line of your budget reflects one of these core things that every family needs, and each column reflects your choices in terms of how much you would like to invest in each of these vital needs. So for example, housing, since we have some real estate interest in the room, you could get by with a one candy in the A column would give you a studio apartment for your family. And as you might have seen on the left, the scenario is you're in a family that has 2 children, a boy and a girl, and you have a spouse and you are both working. So you might be able to save some money by only spending one candy on a studio apartment, but keep in mind you would be living with a family of 4 in that one room and what that would be like. So you might want to go to the opposite end and invest 3 candies in a nicer home, a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath house for the 4 of you. So using your candies, if you can make your choices as to what you would do with this budget, and making sure you have a candy on each line. So for example, you can't just decide not to eat because that would not work for anybody. So using your candies, go ahead and read through these options and decide what you would do with the candy that you have before you.
So like on health insurance, when it says health insurance for you but not for your family, but can the family get like government, like the kids, can they get like the
passport or Medicaid? That's a great question. Before all the healthcare laws changed is when we got our board. So what we've typically said is that there would be no insurance for those children because those laws continue to change so much.
Okay.
So don't assume that there would be other kinds of health coverage for them. The reason for that is that so many of our families actually don't qualify. Either if they do qualify, there's still a lot of loopholes in the Affordable Care Act and things that still make coverage not affordable for everybody. And we've seen some specific cases of that locally. So it looks like we've mostly got our choices made. How does that feel?
It's hard.
It's hard,
It's really
isn't
hard.
it? Does anyone have any money in savings for our banker friends who would encourage that? Any money left for spending at the end of the month?
I tried to do that last time when I did this exercise, and no, I didn't have any money. I was going to have to go get another job, as a matter of fact, because I didn't have enough. I was trying to go on my own family now.
Good. Thank you for making it realistic.
Yes, and it didn't work.
So like in the real world, as you all know, things happen. Kids get sick, cars break down, and that's exactly what's about to happen to your family. So you have that daughter who's 9. Today, you get a phone call from her teacher that she's sick at school, you need to leave work and pick her up. and also probably take her to the doctor to make sure she doesn't need antibiotics or some kind of treatment. So if you do not have insurance, you need to lose 2 candies from your budget and readjust, because that doctor visit is going to cost you. So take away 2 candies if you do not have health insurance, and you're going to need to readjust your budget if you lost any money to make sure you still can cover every line. Does anyone have a kid get sick ever? If you have it, then I need to send my children to your house because I'm doing something wrong.
So,
yes.
health insurance through your employer, but no health insurance for your
Yep.
family
so
members.
your daughter would
means-
not have insurance.
So
Yep.
you would put your,
So if you had a candy in A or B, you gotta lose 2 and then readjust because you had no insurance for your daughter. We had one case over at the community health clinic. One of their clients who's been a wonderful advocate for our work, she fell through loopholes in the Affordable Care Act because she was offered coverage through her husband's employer, but the cost to them out of pocket was gonna be upwards of $700 a month. So I don't know about you all, but that, like, I couldn't afford that if that was our cost as a family. So she had no health coverage and therefore found herself at the clinic needing a triple bypass because she couldn't even go to the doctor for a checkup with some things that were going on with her heart. So I'm sure HMH and you folks just see how I have such great respect for our friends in healthcare, because I don't know how you all keep straight. It's such a moving target too, with policies changing, that unfortunately that is a big misconception that now everybody has insurance or everybody can afford their coverage. We see that that's still not the case here locally. So everybody's back to feeling better, back to school the next day, but unfortunately you go to leave work tomorrow and your car won't start. So you have to call a relative to come pick you up at work and take that car off for repairs. So if you had a vehicle, if you had transportation where you were owning a car, you lose 2 more candies because you have to pay that bill to get the car fixed, and you have to readjust your budget. So if you had a car, does anybody have a car still? Okay, sorry. How would you be able to function in our community without a vehicle? And you had 2 kids.
that'd be hard.
Very, very
Yeah.
hard.
Because public transportation isn't very helpful. I mean, you got taxis and stuff, but there's no bus system or anything like that that would help somebody.
Yeah.
What I always wondered about is like how you get groceries and like even to the laundromat, things like that. Like how you with kids, how you get around as a family if you don't have your own vehicle,
Right.
especially a reliable one.
Yeah, my job is sales, so if I could have the car, I couldn't do my job.
I would not be
Can't take
here.
the bus.
I have an hour commute each way, so I would not be here, be able to work if we didn't have a car in our family. So we got the car fixed, everything's back on track there, but your husband comes home from work on Saturday, and as we said, he works in manufacturing, and a lot of families in that line of work build in overtime into their budgets. And he came home from work, found out he's not gonna get the extra hours he thought he was gonna get this pay period, so you're not gonna have as much money in that next paycheck as you were planning on. So everybody loses 3 candies at this point, regardless of where they are.
Wow. So we choose where to pick.
Yeah, so
Yeah, 3, you can pick from wherever you think you would what you would do in that
And then
situation.
we move the other 2 over, the other 1 over.
You lose 3, like you can eat them, they're not coming back.
Okay. Because I want to eat them.
Yeah, so you can eat them, take away 3, and then move them wherever, whatever you have left, move to what you would do if you were in that situation.
Okay.
Do we still need to leave something on all the lines?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you still have to eat and get places. So you can breathe a sigh of relief. That's the last bad thing that happens. But, have those things ever happened to you all? I don't mean to get too personal, but like personally, I've gone out to the car and had a flat tire and been late to work, and things like that can happen. One of the things that we hear a lot, we've brought in different consultants and some educators about poverty for us to be able to understand better as an organization, really the complex nature of what we're dealing with. And one of the things that you all have probably heard as we're talking about stereotypes and misconceptions or preconceived notions is that issue of cell phones, is that, you know, well, if they gave up their cell phone, maybe they wouldn't be in the situation they're in. But as we look at a lot of this, literally what you're looking at is living in a crisis situation from day to day, where every day is a matter of how to get, not thinking about tomorrow, but how to get to the next hour, how you're going to get through the rest of the day. In that kind of environment, relationships become so important, because when you have that car that breaks down because it's not reliable, because you don't have a lot of money, you need to be able to call a family member or a friend to come get you up, to watch your kids if you get held over at work. Those relationships become so important, and ways to connect with each other, like cell phones, become if I asked for all your phones right now, y'all probably wouldn't be very comfortable giving up that way of connecting with people that you might need to reach. So that's another side of thinking about that issue, that sometimes people don't, realize how vital those relationships are, even more so probably than in some of our lives where we're not dealing in that constant crisis and emergency basis. There are so many different things we need help with, and that's really kind of our, what these next slides talk about are things that you could do over the next few months if this is of interest to you. So for example, on our campaign side, we have about 150 people who help in some way, shape, or form with our campaign, because it's a massive effort. We had about 170 campaign meetings where we went in and talked about United Way. So whether it's helping speak at one of those, whether it's scheduling a meeting with somebody we're not currently with, maybe a business that would like to do a special event or a corporate gift or host a workplace campaign, that's extremely valuable to us, because it takes so much work to be able to maintain the relationships and the plans for the campaign year in and year out. We're always looking for people to also be runners for us of, hey, we've got materials that need dropped off to a company. It helps us be more efficient as an organization if we have volunteers that can do things that are that simple of just, taking some materials to a company that's counting on them for a campaign. We also have a lot of different ways you can coordinate special events. If it's getting sponsorships, we have so many events, it seems like. So if you enjoy that is not my strength in life. So I really appreciate people who enjoy logistics, recruiting volunteers, or anything that it takes to host a special event. We also have something we call Loaned Executive, which is really being more of a scheduler of workplace campaign activities. So someone that coordinates, for example, we could give you an account, like Alltech is one of our accounts, which is a fairly large one, so we probably wouldn't start you off with one that big, but a company where they'd have meetings and you would be the liaison between their campaign coordinator internally, who's part of their staff, and us, let us know, here's when their campaigns are going to be, how many pledge forms they need, for example, if they have any special events, and being that person that works with us so we know that things are moving forward with that particular company. So a great way we can share who our companies are. If there's somebody you've always wanted to work with or you know people at, some of those are really great ways to build relationships and get to know people you maybe haven't met before. We've talked a lot about different initiatives today. We are always looking, if we have volunteers who lead, like VITA, for example. We were able to do VITA because we had somebody that said, yeah, I'll run it. And honestly, it's something we wanted to do for about 2 years, and we just couldn't add that into our already pretty demanding existing tasks. So it'd been kind of on our wish list for a long time. And when we had somebody that said, yeah, I'd like to run that, we honestly don't do very much. Should I just say that on camera? But as an organization, it doesn't demand a lot of our time because we have volunteers who are running that initiative. And we could provide leads or have leads easily for any of these initiatives that we work on if that's something that you're interested in. We also have a need always to be out in the community and representing United Way at different meetings and letting us know what's going on at interagency groups. There are, it could be a full-time job for us just to go to different, CECC stands for Community Early Childhood Councils. There's 5 of those in our region. There's different health coalitions. we have interagency groups, so it could be a full-time job if we just ran to all of those. So if there's anything you're going to or would like to go to during the day to represent us and report back as to what's going on, that would be wonderful. So anything that we can do, we really welcome your questions. We welcome you looking into us. We post our budget, our financials, my salary information, all of that's available on our website because, again, we really think that that's, I love to go out and talk to our donors because I like to look in the eye of people who are making our work possible, and that's why we really go above and beyond to try to provide that information. So really, as a parting note, would like to ask for each of you to think about your United Way story, which might seem like, we've thrown a lot at you today of what United Way is, what we do. And I think one of the ones that I would like to share with you is a story from one of our board members, actually, who shared a story with me about him growing up in an abusive home where, frankly, as an adult now, he's like, really, we should have probably gone to a Spring Haven. And in his life, he was kept on track by his grandmother. And they did not live in this area. We're not from here, but now he is a successful banker. And one of those people that you would never imagine in a million years came from this kind of background. And he credits this to his grandmother. And when he was sharing this story with me, I'm so lucky that people share these kinds of things that it's just really humbling. And, one of the things I said was, that's a United Way story. And his response was, well, I didn't live here, and I didn't go to United Way for help, and I didn't go to, Spring Haven, who gets funding through us. So, in my perspective, we are very excited about those kinds of stories still because you had somebody that was in a situation that was changed because someone provided that kind of support. And, in my life, it's been people that provided assistance for my child that without knowing who to turn to, without that support system of services, the outcome for him would have been very different. And all of us, I think, have had people in our lives that saw potential in us or potential in someone you care about, and they did something about it, and they supported you. And whether or not that was, through United Way funding, that's what we want. That's what we want for our community, is to have that support system that, when your kid is sick and you need to stay over at work, that you have an alternative for your child, that they're safe and in a caring environment. When something happens with that vehicle, you have a backup plan. There's transportation. There's somebody there that can pick up the pieces when things go wrong. And that's really why we exist, is to fill those gaps and provide that support for people who are new to our community and don't have that network of family. There are people in our community that don't have that support system, and really that's what we're trying to provide in a coordinated, efficient way. So if you've ever had that person in your life, a teacher or a coach, really that's a United Way story, because it's that person who saw potential in you and did what it took to help keep you on track and help make you the person you are today. So maybe think about that a little bit as a parting note of, who were those people in your life that if they weren't there, what would have happened? Because unfortunately there are people that the worst story does actually unfold because they didn't have that resource. So we'll ask politely if you will share those with us in a way that you're comfortable at the next session. And honestly, that tends to be one of the more powerful ones, where you get to learn a little bit more about each other and about the things that have made you who you are. So if you're comfortable as much as you are willing to share, I can tell you a little bit more about mine if that helps. But that's a really powerful experience when we all get to know each other on that level. So a few other events that you might want to know about. As I mentioned, Give a Day for Hunger. We've got so many volunteers coming out. If you would still like to join with your family, the Saturdays, especially a kid-friendly opportunity, it's a great way to go out and volunteer as an entire family, which sometimes it's hard to find those kinds of opportunities. And we also will see you for our first class at an agency, which will be at Panther Place, which is through E-Town Schools. That is our after school program for children who are at risk, and they do some amazing things. They work with Big Brothers Big Sisters to do mentoring at the program, homework help, they're getting kids' grades up, giving them that safe place to go when mom or dad have to work or can't go home by themselves after school. So I think this will be a really great first stop for you all, and really excited to see what you think after that visit. So we threw a lot of information at you today. Like I said, it'll get more interactive and you'll get to do more tours and meeting with agency folks. But the intent of today was to give you more of the big picture of why are we doing this, why does United Way, offer something like this, what are some other things that we do if you'd like to get involved. And there'll be lots of opportunities for you to decide to plug into any of those other service roles later in the process. So thank you all again for being here. If you'd like to and are willing to stay and talk with Kelly here, we would love to have you. So thank you so much, and take some cookies with you so you don't eat them all.
I chose to be a part of the Fellows Program because I already work with United Way, Warm Blessings, and Springhaven. So when I heard about the Fellows Program, I want to learn more about United Way. I want to learn more about how they're helping the community. And I thought that this would help me to maybe find other ways to volunteer. And my boss is the chairman of United Way. He sits on the board. So at my job, we're very, very active in the community with United Way. So here I am. And that's why I decided to do it. So I'm really excited about the program.